what I'm picking up from this discussion, grosso modo, is that it's the thing that Mark Carney said at Davos, right? The Thucydides comment about the strong doing what they can and the weak suffering what they must. We will sanction, and powerful countries will sanction countries that are weak because they can, and weak countries don't have the ability to retaliate. This certainly was our understanding for many years, certainly up to maybe the beginning of the of the new century. But I'm wondering if our experts can give some perspective on how the world may be changing in its understanding of sanctions. Another word for sanctions is economic coercion, of course, right? And what we have today is not a world where the strong, only the strong can sanction the weak, but there are other players in the system that can retaliate and can impose countermeasures, if you will. And then we are understanding now that the use of countermeasures, which are really the flip side of the sanctions in the first place, are easily weaponized and may not produce the sort of moral outcomes that we assume that they might. Do you think there's a change in global thinking around sanctions? And if so, how should we adjust our own posture on sanctions? Right now, our view seems to be, let's be the world champion on sanctions. Let's keep refining those tools. Maybe Professor Braw, because you contributed to our previous study, and I think you had some things to say about sanctions in general.
Yes, so thank you for the question, Senator. Yes, sanctions are the favorite tool of Western governments because as leading economies, we have and users of legal instruments, we have at our disposal an instrument that is strong and doesn't violate any rules, and also doesn't involve any measures, any activities that could trigger retaliation. So it is obvious why sanctions are so popular, but they have worked in the past because we, as Western countries, have been the engine of the global economy, and that is no longer the case. So when the West imposed sanctions on Russia, I think we all remember, Russia then shifted a lot of its trade, including its oil exports, to countries that hadn't sanctioned it, and has been able to operate virtually uninterrupted ever since. And I think this is something, a reality that we have to bear in mind when considering sanctions. So the result being the reality being that sanctions are not as effective as they were in the past. And also there are, if we overuse sanctions, that will lead countries to trade more amongst themselves and less with us. And that's a very uncomfortable situation to be in, because we consider ourselves upholders of the international rules-based order, and we have had that economic might that has allowed us to use sanctions to impose, to shore up the order to impose punishment on those countries that have misbehaved. Another second order effect I would flag up, Senator, is that the more the United States in particular uses sanctions, which it obviously does on the basis of the US dollar being the currency of choice in international commerce, the more it uses sanctions, the more it opens the door and incentivizes countries and commercial entities, so companies, to trade in other currencies, especially Chinese currency, and that is surely not a development that is to be saluted by Western countries, but that is the direction in which we are heading, and we are already seeing it, for example, with Iran.
Thank you very much.